how do you think becoming this version of a man who helps other men, how has that helped your marriage? How has that helped your wife trust you in some sense?
So that's a big one. And to be honest, from a father standpoint or even a parent standpoint, from a mom standpoint, right? When we start having kids, what most couples will do is they'll put their marriage, their relationship with their spouse on the back burner. And that is a huge, huge miss. I don't subscribe to that. And I've actually have gotten some heat over that. You know, for me and my wife, it's God, marriage, kids in that order, right? Now, that's not to say like if one of our kids is like having an emotional breakdown or something traumatic happens or like an emergency happens or like they desperately need physical, mental, or emotional support, we don't be like, you know, mom and dad have a date night tonight. You're going to have to hold off on that. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is keep your marriage on the front burner, you know, along with your kids, right? And here's the other thing too, and this is one of the biggest misses. The divorce rate's 50%.
Yeah.
Right? But there's more to this story that we don't know. And so we always talk about like the divorce rate, it's 50%. However, the couples that stay together, nobody talks about that one, but I'll tell you the statistics on that one. The couples that stay together, so let's just take the other 50% of people who are still married, right? The couples that stay together, studies and polls and surveys have statistically shown the same kind of data, right? The data is this. The couples that stay together are divided up into 3 equal camps, almost identically equal, which is really weird to me, but that's what the data shows. I'm sure they're probably off by a little bit, but it's basically 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
Sure.
Camp number 1, 1/3 of couples that stay together actually identify their relationship as working. We're still in love. We're still connected. We're there for each other. We're aligned. Everything is really, really good, right? I wouldn't really change much. That's the feedback. The next camp number 2, the next 33%, they're settled. Probably roommates to some degree, but they talk about high-level managerial things like parenting, the bills and the chores and the roles and who's doing what. And they're kind of friends, but there's really not a whole lot of depth in the connection or really not a whole lot of intimacy going on. We're just sort of like stagnant. And then the third camp, this is the one that none of us want to be in if we're married, and that is complete and total disconnect. Two different people living under the same roof who have totally separate lives and really don't interact. And they have 2 reasons why they don't get divorced. Number 1, it's too expensive, too financially devastating for us to split up. And number 2, we got to stay together for the kids. I don't subscribe to that one either. I'm not a fan of divorce, but I don't necessarily think you should show your kids this is how a dysfunctional relationship works. So let's talk about couple number 1.
Yeah.
If you really boil it down, 10 to 12% of people that walk down the aisle, 1 out of 10 people, 1 out of 10 couples actually are successful and happy and fulfilled. But there's common ground there. There are common things that are happening in that relationship that make it so. And here's what it is. They don't rely, and this has been studied, they don't rely, I think it was Gottman that did this study, they don't rely on the feeling of love, right? To be, so they're not waiting for, well, I just don't feel it anymore, right? And a lot of people subscribe to that. I'm just not in love with you anymore. LOVE is actually VERB. It's a verb, right? It's a verb. It's an action. Nice. It's not in the beginning. Like, let's just talk about brain function, right? You meet this woman, or if you're a woman listening to this podcast, you meet this man, your oxytocin is going, and dopamine is firing on all cylinders. Oh my gosh, this is euphoric. I can't get enough of you. I just want to see you all the time. I want to talk to you all the time. Every time I'm around you, like the entire world melts away.
Totally.
That only lasts for a handful of months. And a lot of people subscribe to the fact, well, that's the way it has to be always. But here's the trick, right? The trick is that a lot of people, there isn't really a whole lot of effort for us to feel those feelings because our brains really take over. Over time, it's actually the other way around. So I've been married to Jessica for 20 years. We've been together for 27 years. And here's what I can tell you. Love is a verb. So anytime I take action to show her love, that's when I feel that feeling again. Whenever she takes action to give me love, she feels it, and so do I. So when I show her love, she feels it, and so do I. But it's got to be the action before the feeling, not the feeling before the action. And that's the problem. So, when it comes, and getting back to your question, the reason that and I've learned this from much smarter people than me, I'm raising 4 boys. Like, the world can't be all about them. A lot of it is, like, they're very important to me, right? They take up a lot of time and attention and all the good stuff, as they should. But I have a duty and a responsibility as their dad to show them this is how you love, respect, communicate, have conflict resolution with the woman that you love. And they have a front row seat to that 3 and 4D movie, right, that we're showing them. My wife is the same. She feels the need and the responsibility of, like, I'm their mom, and it's my duty and my responsibility to show these boys what really good love looks like, and how you treat a man, how you respect a man, how you appreciate a man, how you love a man, because that way when these women come around that my boys are going to date, they're not going to stand or tolerate for anything less, because they've seen what good really looks like. And I think that's a big miss when it's all about the kids and not about us. We're missing the beautiful lesson and the example of this is what a highly functional, beautiful relationship could really look like, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's well said. I talked with this other guy maybe 6 months ago who kind of does a similar thing to you. He's a little smaller audience, named Lach Haman.
Oh, cool name.
Yeah, I really liked it. It's like, locked in.
Lach
but either
Haman.
way, yeah. He was talking about bringing it back to the love as a verb. It's something to do with, like, if you want an average relationship, like, give it 50-50, or give 50% effort. That's kind of what most people do. Oh yeah, I'll give some effort sometimes when I need to. And yeah, maybe if I'm feeling it and in the mood. It's like, no, I want a way better than average relationship. I want an extraordinary relationship. I'm going to give 110%, not 50-50. I want to give 110, and whenever I do that, my wife will give me that back. And that verb of love is a true action that you have to take. And like you're saying, hopefully that would give your kids a great example of what true love is. Love is not, manipulation or resentment or pettiness. It's giving it your all. And I can't fully say because I'm not in that situation, but I'm just trying to learn from older people to set up my life in that way. And yeah, I like love as a verb is a great one. That's a great phrase that I'm going to take in. Like, I see a lot of people my age. I'm like almost done with university. And sometimes I feel like people like get into relationships for like, truly shallow reasons, physical appearance, and it's fun. But then like you just see it doesn't last more than 7 to 10 months. Because soon enough, things start to get hard. There's logistical problems. You have to start solving, like, whose career takes priority? How does all this fit together? And these kind of conversations that are hard seem to be ignored. Like, how many kids do you want? Like, how many people my age talk about in their couple, like when they're in love, oh, how many kids should we have? How should we discipline them? What type of school? Christian school, private, homeschool, which location? These kind of hard combos. I'm just like, I happen to be very lucky and be with a woman who's really mature as well. And we talk about these things on the regular. That's not to say that I know that I'm going to have a great marriage and be a great father, but I'm trying my very best to like be that kind of man. And I really like this idea of being a great example and showing your kids that, hey, we can solve problems together. If there's a conflict, we can figure it out in a reasonable way.